everybody. Welcome along to episode 69 of Percussion Discussion. Hope you're all keeping safe out there. Please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, our world famous YouTube channel. If you can find time to subscribe, that would really help. This way, you won't miss any of the great interviews that we've already done or any of the interviews that we've got coming up. If you prefer to listen on the go, you can listen to all our conversations in podcast form. You can find those on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. On to today's guest, a gentleman I spoke to earlier this year, back in May or June, way before the Genesis tour started, and there was lots of fingers crossed, hoping that it was going to go ahead, obviously with the COVID restrictions and everything. It did go ahead, and unfortunately, the British leg was cut slightly short, which is going to be made up next year, but they've been on to the US leg, which was a huge success. So he promised me he'd speak to me again, and he's good to his word. He's a real gentleman. It gives me great pleasure to welcome back for a post-tour catch-up even, the wonderful Mr. Nic Collins. So Nic, thanks for doing this again, mate. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, hey, it's a pleasure. Well, you know, as you know, and as anybody who's seen the previous interview, we had a chat, gosh, I think it was at May or June. It was before the tour started, obviously, and there was lots of fingers crossed, hoping that the tour was going to go ahead, and it did, apart from a couple of dates at the end. But so, yeah it's happened, and it was a huge success, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been really great. I mean, that first night playing in front of real people, I mean, you know, bear in mind, we've had so many rehearsals just to do something. It's not even like, you know, because we needed to. I mean, you know, we all kind of needed to get comfortable with all the stuff, but you know, we're gonna have just as many legs of rehearsals as we've had the tour itself, you know, because it just kept getting pushed back. So to be able to actually play the show and have a reaction when we finish a song, because usually we finish a song, it's just kind of crickets, and you know, you're like the odd crew guy in the back, just kind of like distant claps, you know. But this was great, you know. It was quite emotional at the beginning to just see people in an arena and have that connection, you know, for them again, and also for the guys, you know, to be back on stage, you know, for the first time in, I don't know, you know, 14 years or something. It was, you know, it was really special.
Oh, I can imagine. And is it, obviously you can rehearse as much as you like. There's nothing, it'll never be that same feeling in front of people, will it? You know, do you get, obviously it's a well-oiled, well-rehearsed machine, but you still get that little twinge of nerves in front of.
Yeah, I mean, and even stuff as tedious as like how long between songs, you know, you don't really think of it when you're rehearsing. It's just you finish a song, you know, somebody changes their guitar, you get ready. Okay, we can start the next one. But this one, it's like, you know, there's applause that come and go. And so, you know, that, well, even just small stuff like that changes, like, oh, yeah, we're playing for real now. It's not just a rehearsal. But, you know, and also the adrenaline side of it, that's something that, especially as, you know, I'm sure as all drummers know, adrenaline is, you know, one of the best things for drummers, but also the worst, because it just throws your timing off. You know, you think you're playing something really, like we finished, I remember the first show of the tour, we finished the first two songs, and bear in mind the second song has a drum machine, so we were, you know, it wasn't like anything was out of time, but you get that adrenaline going. And then the third song, which also starts with a drum machine, I couldn't believe how slow it was. And I was just like, oh, thank God there's a drum machine on that, because I would have started it double time, you know. So I think that's really the main thing, is just, you know, feeling that energy again, which, you know, takes a while to get used to.
Oh, that's the thing. The technology doesn't lie, does it? It's there, and it's you know, it's calm, and you can always rely on it, can't you? Amazing. Now, obviously, as you've gone through, there's tons and tons of really high quality footage from the shows online and everywhere. Are you one to watch and listen back and, you know, sort of?
I think at the beginning I did. You know, especially after the first show, you know, it's like, oh, like, you know, A, what does it sound like? And B, what do people think? Which I'm usually not that kind of guy who looks to see what people think, because I don't really care. And it's usually the people, you find out people who do leave comments on YouTube videos are usually people who have not great things to say. Actually, surprisingly, it was all really great. And I was kind of like, I was like, oh my God, you know, that was It was a nice surprise, and I've seen videos here and there, especially when for the first two shows in the U.S. we threw a misunderstanding into the set, and then we took it out again. But for those, since it was like one song that we hadn't done, on the thing, I wanted to watch it, see what it sounded like, and also for me, I get to actually see what the stage looks like because I don't really know, apart from the odd kind of, I can look, and in my in the corner of my eye and see what it really looks like, but you don't really get the full kind of thing. So, I every now and then I did, but then at one point I also kind of go, you know what, like we do it every night, and even if I have something to say about what I would change, that show's happened. You know what I mean? So there's nothing you can change about it. But not that usually really happens with everybody because we've rehearsed it so many times and really gotten everybody sounding really tight.
Oh, amazing. So it's hard to believe how quickly the time's gone from our first conversation to now.
I know you said May or June. I couldn't believe that.
yeah, because it was like, is it going to happen? Is it going to? And it's gone. It's nearly Christmas. It's Christmas next week. It's insane, isn't it? It's gone.
Yeah.
Now I have to say, the sounds from your drums are incredible. Obviously, the Gretsch drums sound amazing, but in certain songs, "Second Home by the Sea," "Invisible Touch," obviously we're hearing some triggers there.
Yeah.
This is getting geeky and techie now for the drummers, Obviously, samples from your dad's, I guess, Simmons drums from the album. Are they direct from there? Do you know?
Yeah, they are.
Wow.
Home by the Sea is an updated, well, not updated version, but like is a Simmons kit that we went through and it's kind of the one they'd been using because back when my dad was touring, he was using the original kind of Simmons whatever module.
Yeah.
Getting the real authentic Simmons sounds from the Simmons machine. Whereas we had to get it on, the new Roland module, which is great. I mean, it's been working great, but there's so many triggers for those, those Simmons songs. There's Second Home by the Sea, Invisible Touch, Domino. They all use Simmons sounds on those songs. And, I mean, there's also songs like Mama, which have, kind of a gated concert tom trigger, just because even though I have those concert toms, like it's like this really aggressive, distorted kind of, I mean, it's a great sound, but you kind of need that for some of the tom fills. And a few other songs with some, Land of Confusion has a snare sample on it, which Front of House does a really great job of blending both things. That's what I've always loved about, even, Second Home by the Sea, it's got a Simmons sound, but you hear the real drums too. Yeah. But that was kind of at the beginning of it, was really out of my comfort zone on how to even get the triggers to work and sound properly, because I never really used triggers. And second of all, you have to play totally different, because when you have a trigger, you can't start doing buzz rolls and ghost notes on the snare drum, because that gets picked up and it sounds really bad, like a double kind of distant trigger. So you really have to change the way you play. But it also really works for some of those songs. But it was funny because when we were rehearsing for that, we had kind of like, especially for the Simmons sounds, we had like these stock Simmons sounds, which we were going in and tuning the different ones and changing everything and like listening to the record, really giving, my tech and I a massive headache. And after about 3 days of doing that and losing our minds, Jeff, the keyboard tech, goes, "I've got all the sounds from the album on my computer," because him and our tour manager they developed all those sounds. Like they were the ones who created the Second Home by the Sea Simmons sound. Jeff pretty much built the farm that they recorded at from like Abacab onward. So he had all those authentic sounds on his computer, and you plug the USB and everything was done. You just kind of had to change the sensitivity a little bit, but it was funny, but I was like kind of annoyed that it took 3 days, of us like tearing our hair out. But no, yeah, a lot of the songs are from the record, and it just really helps bring those songs to life.
It gives it a real authenticity, doesn't it? Which Genesis needs and deserves, and I think, and I mean, your playing throughout has been pretty remarkable, tight, great groove, great chops.
Thank you.
And I think I've not seen any negativity towards your playing, or because I know we touched on it upon the first interview you know, there's always going to be somebody that says, oh, somebody else should be doing this. But I think you've earned your place there more than.
It's been great, honestly. To, you know, that was a thing that kind of, you know, when you go into it, you're kind of like, oh, unsure. And everybody's been really cool about it, and everybody's been really supportive. And you know, I think for me, at least on a personal level, I had to kind of prove that, you know, I'm going to play these parts, and you'll know why I'm doing it, and that it's not just kind of like a favor from my old man saying like, hey, you know, like you're not doing great for work right now after COVID. Here's a you know, a little gift that you can do. But no, I mean, it's been great, and everybody's been really awesome. But I've also kind of, you know, for me at least, I've gone in there with the mindset that, you know, I'm their drummer as far as like, but it's about them. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not about me, you know, me drumming there or anybody else, right? It could be anybody. The main thing is to make them feel comfortable and to play those songs well. And, you know, when we finish the show, we do this bow, all 7 of us, because it's, me, Daryl, 3 guys, and then 2 backing singers. And so we do the bows, and then after that, it's them, you know, it's them 3 that it's about. And so it's great to have those comments, and it's great to have the validation of Genesis fans, considering that's not very easy to come by. But it's also kind of one of those things where, you know, once it started, it was really great to know. But after that, you know, I'm not too worried, because it's not supposed to be about me. It's supposed to be about them and the music, really.
Hey, and humble of you to say, but again, you've got to do the business, and you did it, you know, on some of the medleys, like Behind the Lines, Duke's End, Turn It On Again. You know, playing was just on point, absolutely.
Thank you, man.
And do you know what? And this leads me to my next point. I'm sure you're aware of this, but you found yourself in 2nd place on the Music Radar Best Progressive Drummer. I assume.
I did, yeah.
Which is, you know, you've got some heavyweight names. I've just written Matt Gartzker, who's number 1. But
he's,
you know,
an absolute animal. Matt Gartzker is like, you know, what he does. It's one of those things, like, it's like at the moment, I don't think there's anybody as good at drums as Matt Gartzker is. It's just, and yeah, I mean, you know, being on that list is really
wow. I mean, behind you, I mean, you've got Mike Portnoy, Bran Daler, Gavin Harrison, you know. So
and Gavin's one of my heroes as well, which you know, I mean, it was really great to be even nominated for those things. To me, was, you know, because when you get nominated, it even to me sometimes means a bit more, because it's the people who are developing those music magazines that are putting you on that list, you know, because then when it gets up to fan voting, it, you know, it can get a bit skewed. You know, there was the rock list as well, which was great to be on with Taylor from the Foos and Todd from Styx, which was, you know, they're 2 of my massive heroes and 2 guys that I'm quite close with. So, you know, the progressive list was really awesome to kind of, you know, be validated into that world of music, you know, that very picky world. It's great, you know, it's, you know, really awesome to be behind those drummers. And, you know, like the drummers you read out, like half of those are like massive heroes of mine, you know. And so it's really awesome to be on that list. And it was funny because when Tony Banks found out I was on the progressive list, he goes, hey man, I got given some award to, you know, to be like a prog god. He goes, it's great, but there's no chicks, man. And that was what I thought was funny from Tony Banks. He goes, prog is great for music people, but there's no girls.
Oh, that's superb. I like that. But, you know, you've obviously earned it, and you've earned it in fine style, playing the way you have on the tours, and, you know, totally deserved. So good on you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, not at all. Not at all. But this kind of, I'm going to jump around a little bit. In between the tours with your original band, Better Strangers, it looks like you've done a couple of club gigs as well. Is that right?
Yeah, we did. And right when we finished, we did some shows, which were really great, you know, working at it, obviously, you know, taking some time off to do these tours. But yeah, you know, I'm back here until March, where we do Europe with Genesis, and really just going to be working, you know, trying, you know, full steam ahead with my band, which has been exciting. And it's totally different. I mean, to be honest though, you know, there is lots of stuff that I bring that I learn playing with the guys in Genesis, and also not just musically, but being on the road and having the kind of knowledge of how it goes. And when you see people who make a living for it and are professional, whether it's tour managers, production managers, and the way all the kind of pieces of the jigsaw puzzle have to fit in to make something happen. You kind of take so much of that when you go, when I go back with my band, and it's just really funny. It's just a completely different scale, it's lots of fun. You kind of really do get the best of both worlds. And you just kind of have to grind it out. You do some club shows and, do the load in, load everything out. It's a completely different thing, but it's great,
I guess it kind of brings you back down to earth with a bump, because I'm guessing on tour, not that I've ever been on a tour on the scale that you've done in the last year, but I guess everything is pretty much done for you apart from the play inside.
Exactly. I mean, it is also that that's a big part of it with our band. All of us, we have we're playing the songs, but we also have God, I hope people show up today.
Yeah.
And I hope the sound is good. I hope, whereas you don't, like for me with Genesis and when I was touring my dad, I didn't have to worry about that. I just worry about going to play the drums because I know the sound's going to be good. I know the lighting's going to be good. I know there's going to be people there. I just have to worry about this. Whereas with my own band, it is completely different, but it's great. And it also is two different mindsets that I've learned as a drummer. Being a drummer in the band when you are the drummer, as in like this is, I decide what happens drum wise, is completely different to when you're, essentially hired to play the songs. Like with Genesis, like I said, I'm trying to make the guys comfortable. I'm trying to make the fans happy with this, the sounds and the way the songs sound. Whereas with my band, as much as I still am worried about that, making them feel comfortable, it is different because, there's a bit more expression, there's a bit more looseness to it, but it's really been a great, great time to be able to kind of go between both of those aspects of it,
Amazing. It's so lovely to see that you've gone from playing, 20,000 seaters to a club gig which could have, I don't know, between 100 and 200 or 300 people in, I guess.
Well, we had one that was 300 people, and then we had one that had about 45 people, so
incredible.
The highs and lows, man, of grinding it out, that's what's fun about it.
Can you remember how to set your own drums up? That's the important thing.
I do. Well, the thing is since I use a different kit with my band as I do on the road, I do have to kind of, when I sit back down on my kit with my band, I'm like, okay, I have to get used to it. It's a bit more of a, John Bonham setup with some concert toms. Whereas, it's not the kind of full concert tom Phil Collins Genesis kit that I use. But that being said, we do have everything on a rack on the road, which makes it easy for Munch, my drum tech. But back with here, I'm using just stands, but I've kind of I've marked everything where it's as easy as possible to just set it up. It's kind of like if everything's marked, you put it in and you set it up the right place. There's really no adjusting necessary, which helps. But it's definitely not great. I'm definitely I guess impatiently awaiting when I can get a drum tech back with my band.
So does it feel weird playing on double-headed toms apart from the concert toms that you've got again? Does that feel strange?
I wouldn't say it feels strange. You just have to kind of play them a different way, really, because with the concert toms, there's a lot more rim shots on the toms. I mean, maybe not the big ones like the floor toms and then the 15-inch, but like the first 8 and 10, like they're essentially just really small timbales.
Yeah,
you're just really rim shotting the hell out of them to get that sound out of it. So it's more just the way it's set up that takes a bit to get used to for me when I'm back at home, especially cymbal wise, because although I've started to kind of, I've started to adjust both setups to kind of start, getting to a nice middle ground where they feel kind of similar, because there's some things that I really love about the way I set up the Genesis kit that I can't really do with this kit, and the same vice versa. So cymbal wise, with the Genesis kit, they're pretty high up, and I'm starting to have to kind of mirror that with my kit just to be able to get that familiarity. Because when you go from, going from every month switching from really high cymbals to cymbals that are kind of, head high. It's kind of impossible. So
Yeah, I mean, ergonomically, it looks a challenge, the Genesis kit, because it is very high, very spread out, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's not as uncomfortable as it looks. Because I remember like we did like a drum kit tour and somebody was like, dude, this looks really uncomfortable to play. And I mean, it does kind of look like that. But to be honest, with some of the sizes, that's kind of what you have to do. Like there's a 15-inch rack tom, which is like right in front of my face almost. And you do have to kind of adjust that and set that up accordingly to make it make sense, and fit everything. But at the same time, the cymbal height hasn't really been an issue with those songs. But it's also what I've learned is like, it'd be very hard. It's very hard whenever I'm rehearsing here at home for the Genesis tour to play those songs on the kit I use here. It's completely different. Like the way you play it and the fills you do, it changes your instincts. Really bad grammar on that. It changes your instincts as far as like how you kind of go about it, because a lot of the Phil Collins fills are tom and cymbal kind of thing like that. You can't really do that on a kind of kit that's a bit not set up as tall and where the cymbals aren't as high. And so it does change kind of like what fill you're going to go to on which song. But it is, there are some sides of it that kind of are difficult just in the way that you can't play certain fills the same way. But at the same time, like I've just gotten used to it after so long of playing that kit.
Well, I tell you what, it sounded great, and it looks the business, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Visually, it's a treat. It really is.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to do a prog rock tour with a big kit. You can.
Well, say the UK tour was fantastic. Unfortunately, you had to postpone a few dates at the end in London, but fingers crossed that COVID is dies down a little bit again by then, and things can carry on as normal. That's what we hope, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
The tour. I'm sure there's lots of Genesis fans down south got their fingers crossed at the moment. So, Nic, thanks so much. You're right at the end of the tour now. You're finished, and you have to talk to me. So I do apologize. That's
no worries, man. No, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, hey.
And and also, some of the guys that you've had since I've been on, are just absolutely awesome drummers, and it's really great to see the kind of channel grow and get more and more people on it.
Oh, well, that's kind of you. I'm very privileged. I really am, and I don't take it lightly. So, look, have a great Christmas. Keep safe, and hopefully we'll see you back over in the UK in March. And I know you start in Europe as well, don't you, March?
Yeah, we do kind of Germany, France, Netherlands.
Yeah.
I think that maybe we're doing Belgium. I don't remember, but we are finishing the 3 shows at the O2.
That's a pretty good finish, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it'll be quite special, and also for them to kind of wrap up their last shows in their kind of home city.
Yeah, amazing, incredible to be part of it as well. Look, thanks so much, Nic. You're a gentleman, you really are, and it's appreciated by me, and I'm sure everybody who watches it.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Take care, mate. See you soon.
Yeah, take care. Bye.